This is Vinny from the iMoot team. I'd like to um, formally welcome you to iMoot 2014. This is your, I've lost track, there's so many days. This second session?
Yes.
So thank you very much for presenting for us, and I'm looking forward to seeing this one. There was quite a lot of conversation going on after the first one that you did. So thank you very much for presenting for the iMoot, and take it away when you're ready.
Thank you, Vinny. I almost feel like I'm speaking to a celebrity here. I've seen your name on so many emails. Uh,
I'm not one for the limelight, but when, when you're setting up, this is quite a big event, so I have to make sure everybody knows knows what's going on. But thank you.
and I do not envy you your job. I know it's been a challenge to get everybody together.
Oh, it's
In this,
amazing. It's been really great. Although my time zone at the moment is 12:30 at night. I've got the late shift through to about 3 o'clock this morning.
ooh,
But it's all good. Okay, maybe I'll leave it at that. So thank you very much, George, for presenting at the iMoot this year. Um, George Self talking about creating presence in an online class. Thank you, George.
glad to do that. Let's get started. Imagine, if you will, that you're going to a college class, a regular face-to-face class, and you walk in to your very first class on the first day, and the professor comes in at the appointed hour, um, looks at you and says, for next week, read chapter 1, answer the questions at the end of the chapter, and bring me all of your answers written down on a piece of paper. I'll see you next week, and then walks out. Well, far too often, that's the kind of experience our students get in an online class. And in today's session, what I want to do is try to encourage you to do things that will increase your presence in the class so the students actually feel like they're being taught by a human being instead of teaching themselves. Now, to do this, I've created my own Moodle space on a server that I own. And so during our session today, I'll be showing you how I've improved my class in order to improve my own sense of presence out there. What you're looking at now is session 1 of my class. Welcome to class. You'll see I've posted my syllabus. I've got a short PowerPoint presentation and a quiz. And all too often, this is what our students see when they log into a class. It's this times about 8 more sessions that look almost exactly like this. And we want to try to help that, try to prevent that. So what I'm going to do is divide my time into 2 parts. Oh, here's my sample bad class. I just showed that to you. And it should be better. And I will tell you, I am the director of our virtual campus here at my college. And when I visit classes far too often, that's exactly what I see, are half a dozen links each week and not much instructor presence. So I'm going to divide my session into 2 phases. First, things instructors can do as they're preparing for their class to begin, and then secondly, things they can do as the class is in session. First, in the preparation phase, I want to encourage instructors to become a human being. And so in their profile, I tell instructors from the start, set up your Moodle profile so that it makes you look more human instead of just some default thing that you stuck out there. I tell instructors include a photo. And I like to tell them, make your photograph make you look like a professor or a professional. I had an instructor one time put a photo of herself out there where she was seated in a garden, drinking a glass of wine in a nice, I don't know, a pair of shorts and a t-shirt. And I told her, well, that's a nice picture and all, but it really doesn't, as a student, it doesn't inspire me to listen to something that you may have to say. It would be much better to have a photo that makes you look a little more professorial. In my profile, I also have qualified myself to teach the class. I tell a little bit about my background so students know that I can actually teach this class. And I like to have just a bit of personal information. Well, for example, I have a couple of Cocker Spaniel dogs, and I put in my profile that I enjoy spoiling my Cocker Spaniels. So again, students begin to see me as a human being. Anna, yeah, we, I understand. I've seen the worst as well. And I've heard the arguments about profile photos. Some instructors say, oh gosh, I don't want to put a picture of myself out there because I don't want some student to recognize me if they see me in the store. What the heck is wrong with you? If you were teaching a face-to-face class, they certainly would see you. I've had some instructors say, well, I'm pretty ugly. I don't want to have my picture out there. Instead, I'll put a picture of this. I'll put this icon out there, this drawing. Well, again, you know, you are a human being. Let's be humans about this. Anyway, so the very first practice is I'm going to tell my instructors in your profile to be human. I also encourage them to add a little bit of a video of themselves. So again, they can just introduce themselves. My second practice, session introductions. This is one of the simplest things instructors can do, is at the head of each session, instead of just leaving that blank, actually write something in there to introduce the session. I'm going back now to my dummy session, and what I've done to facilitate this course and speed things up today, I've actually created this same little introduction 7 different times. And I'm going now to version 2 of this same introduction and show you what it looks like now that I've added just a little bit of text here to introduce the session. And in this introduction, I can tell the students what I think is important for them to look at this week. I might have some link to some kind of a news article that I saw in the newspaper this week that has to do with our class. Basically, it's just a way for me to focus the students' attention. Certainly, if they have a book, they can read the chapter. Gosh, any of us can read the chapter. But a chapter might be 40 pages long, and I want to focus the students' attention on some specific things in that chapter that I think are important. After all, that's why I get paid to teach the class. I've also added a little bit of an explanation for the syllabus, and I've added some explanation here for my presentation. So again, when the student comes into this session, they can see at a glance exactly what's going to be expected of them this week. And I've added a little bit of my personality to the class. So, practice number 2, I'm going to create a personal, well-written introduction for the session and include information from the discipline, some kind of update, something that's going on with research in my discipline. Practice 3, aesthetics. Let's make our classes look pretty, aesthetically pleasant to the eye, I have one designer tell me. So we will add things like images or a pull quote. Again, I'm going down to version 3 of my introduction. We'll continue to improve this thing. And what I've done now is just add a little bit of a Wordle image. The particular topic that I'm teaching is really fairly abstract. It was hard for me to find an image, a picture that seemed appropriate. But you can always do a vocabulary thing with Wordle, come up with a little Wordle image. And again, this image just adds a little bit of interest to the page. I'm reading the text chat as I go along here. So with Wordle, I can always do a little bit of a vocabulary thing, adds a little bit of eye candy to the page, and it just makes me look a little more human. It makes students believe that I've actually participated in the class, that I am there instead of them just reading the book. And interesting pull quotes. I could have highlighted some quote on the page, put in a little text box or something, if that's what I had intended to do. Practice 4, live lectures, live in quotes there. I do love videos. I love making videos of myself, and I will make a short video where I introduce this week's topic to the students. It's a little head and shoulders video, pretty much what you see me doing right now with a webcam. I'll look at the webcam and I'll talk to the student. I'll say, this week we're going to study this topic, and here's what you should take away from the book. Be sure to look at this and look at that. And your author may be a little off on this particular topic. Here's what current research would say. At any rate, I'm going to make a video for my students so that for about 5 minutes, they actually see me looking straight at them and giving them a little bit of information, frankly, that the college pays me to give them. This is my time to speak to the students. Oh, let's go back to my sample class. I'm going down to version number 4 of my introduction section. And you can see now I've added a little bit of a video here. I do post my videos out on YouTube, and then I can very easily bring in a YouTube video here. Students can click on it and start it, and you'll see I show up and I tell them. Now, I am very careful with my videos. I like to tell my instructors no student wants to watch a 60-minute lecture. I get so tired of instructors coming to my office and saying, will you send your videographer, I've got a staff member who does video, will you send Adam over to my class? I want him to record my lecture today, and then we can post that for the students to see. And I just can't get professors to understand no student wants to watch a 60-minute lecture. It's bad enough that they have to sit in the classroom and watch it. They certainly aren't going to sit on a computer screen and watch it. So I tell them, get your lectures down to 5 minutes. Do a 5-minute lecturette. Your students can read the book after that. And in 5 minutes, you should be able to really succinctly let your students know what it is you want them to know out of the book. And this is what I do. I do a little short 5-minute lecturette. Let's see, I see mine. This one's 4 minutes and 48 seconds. And in that time, I can tell students what's important for them to know. What else do I have here? An audio tip. So now I've even added an audio file. That way students not only see my video, they can actually listen to a quick, it's 1 minute 43 seconds, a quick little audio file. I've also added a web page here. So I've created the web page and I've added that for my students. So now this class is becoming actually closer and closer to exactly who I am. I've got a presence here in this class. Thank you, Vinny. It seemed like the easiest way to do this thing. We use YouTube because I found that it's the simplest to use, Anna. And I understand there may be some issues with YouTube. The college also has a streaming video server. If I wanted to, I could throw these videos out on the college's streaming server. Our only problem with that is as it goes up to the streaming server, I have to figure out what format to put the video in. And I tell instructors, make them MP4s, but I still have instructors that'll post a Windows WMV file or a Macintosh Mac file, a QuickTime file. And then I have to worry about the students having the right kind of viewer and the codecs to view those things. I found out if I stick them out on YouTube, then all of that goes away, and it's so much easier for students to view. Also, then with YouTube, I can add captions, so we can close caption video. And we're very, very careful to try to close caption all of our videos. With YouTube, that becomes simple. Outside of YouTube, it becomes a challenge. At any rate, that's why we use YouTube. It certainly isn't the only option, but it makes things the simplest. All right, so I've added some live lectures. I've added some audio files. And I will mention, I do have this rule about 5 minutes per lecture. Now, I teach a Perl scripting class. It's a programming language. And some weeks I might post, 6 or 8 different lectures. Each of them are only about 5 minutes long, but they're very tightly focused on one specific aspect of that programming language. So in one of my videos, it's maybe just 3 minutes long, I'll show students how to write what's called an if, then, else statement. And I focus very tightly on that one little tiny feature of the language. Then if students want to review, they can very quickly get to exactly the thing they need to review and not spend 45 minutes watching an entire lecture just to pick up the 2 minutes that they may need in the middle of the thing. So I do post a lot of lectures, a lot of videos. I like video, and I do screenshots and I do live face to camera video at any rate. It's a very, very important way for me to increase my presence in the class. Next, practice a personalized syllabus. Now, our university or our college has a syllabus template that we require instructors to use. And there's nothing wrong with that. That way the lawyers are happy that we've actually addressed all of the important points in our syllabus. But the syllabus template is rather ugly. It's just a simple Word document. So I encourage instructors, and I'll click up here to open up my syllabus. I encourage instructors, use the template. In fact, make sure you get all of that information in there that the lawyers think are important. But there's no reason why you couldn't add your own photograph in your syllabus. Let me scroll down just a bit. You'll also notice that for this particular paragraph about contacting me, I've included a pull quote out here. So I've emphasized one important feature of this paragraph. But to be honest, more than that, I've made the page look pretty. I've made the page look more human. And so I use my syllabus, I create my syllabus in such a way, even though I'm still using the college's template, it still is, it reflects my personality. And again, as the students read this, they begin to see me in the class rather than just a teaching machine of some sort. Okay, back to my presentation. So I'm going to create a personalized syllabus. And again, we're still just preparing the class. Practice number 6, course organization. I don't know how many classes I've been to, and let me go back to my sample class. How many times I've visited instructors' classes, and it really is just this. Here's this whole laundry list of things for this week. And students really get confused now. Is this something I have to do, or is this something I have to read? I really, as a student, I want all of the things I have to do organized in some way that it makes it easy for me to figure out what I have to do this week. So what I recommend to instructors, and let me open up my next version of the session. What I recommend to instructors is to use labels, and I've got a label I call resources, and under this label I've got all of the resources for this week, the videos, the audios, any kind of text I may have posted. And I have a label I call work to do that makes it very easy or very clear to the students, here's what we have to do this week. I've also used icons, again, just to dress up the page a little bit. I use the same format each week so that students each week know to look under resources for things that they're going to read or watch. They look under work to do for the things they have to submit to me. And again, it's a way for me to pretty the page up, but for me to have a definite presence in the class. Make sure due dates are clearly posted and not hidden. This is another little quirk of mine, I guess. I have a lot of instructors, just bless their pointy little heads. A lot of instructors in the syllabus, the last page of the syllabus will post their calendar for the semester. And in that calendar is listed when all the things are due. This quiz is due on that date, this assignment's due on that date. And I know why they do that, because it makes it easy. We copy the classes from semester to semester. All they have to change is one page in the syllabus and everything's ready to go. I understand that. I get that. But you know, we pay our instructors not a lot of money, but at least a little bit. And they need to do something to make their class ready besides just change the dates on one piece of paper. So I recommend to instructors, I almost insist, that when you have an assignment due like this assignment, I've actually put the due date right here with the assignment. So when the students open up the page this week, they see exactly when something is due. Vinny, we do not have a standardized label or icon throughout the entire college. If I tried to do that, some of our instructors would, in fact, welcome that so they don't have to worry about what they use. But a lot of our instructors get out that academic freedom flag and start waving it and say that I can't tell them how to make their course look. So no, we don't have any kind of standardized labels. Although in the sample class that we make available to our instructors, and in fact the class we use to teach our instructors how to teach online, we do use, in fact, exactly the same format that you're looking at today. So hopefully that kind of rubs off on them. At any rate, I have instructors put their due dates right there on the assignments and quizzes so students can see it as they go through. But that means every semester when we copy classes for instructors, the instructor has to go through and update those dates. Well, okay. Some do and some don't, and I have to go out and check those for them. Would it benefit the students if you did? Vinny, I'm always a proponent of standardization. I always believe if the courses kind of sort of look the same, students don't have to figure out how to navigate the class. They don't have to figure out what this instructor means and what that instructor means. And I've always said we should try to standardize as much as we can. But again, I get a lot of pushback from instructors that I'm interfering with their freedom to teach. And so I push as hard as I can, but I haven't actually asked our senior administration to just make an edict. This is what our classes will look like. Anna, and yeah, Anna, there's standardization is fine to a point, but you're exactly right. There comes a point where, well, as I mentioned earlier, for our syllabus, we have a template. And if all you're ever able to do is put your name at the top of the template and you know, then it's done, that's probably a little too much standardization. Instructors really need to be able to put a little bit of themselves in the class, or else why do you hire them? But there's also the other, the pendulum swings the other direction, and we've got instructors that are just doing outrageous things, and it's hard for me to even figure out what's going on. Well, for example, I have one instructor who's decided to take his syllabus, even though we have a college standard. He's decided to take his syllabus. He actually put it in a Moodle lesson, broken it out into about 20 pages of stuff in this lesson, and force the students to work through one page at a time. And in the end, the students don't have a single syllabus document that they can print off and reference. It really, to me, is a bizarre way to do a syllabus. But I really don't have much authority to tell them he can't do that either. Anyway, and Vinny and Anna, you're exactly right. It's about the balance. At any rate, practice 6, course organization. Practice number 7 is feedback. I really like to add a feedback or a choice activity several places throughout the semester. Well, let me open up my sample course again, and we're going down now to session number 6, I guess. And I believe I've got a choice activity here. Yeah, quick check. And so what I like to do during the semester, 2 or 3 times, I'll put one of these little quick check activities in there. There's not much to it. It's just a single question. And basically it says, what have we done so far that you really like? Or maybe what have we done so far that's been confusing to you? And I have the students write to me, I really value this feedback from the students, and I'll go out and I'll check it. If there are muddy points or points that they don't understand, the next week I'll put something in the doggone class to explain those points and clarify it for the students. More often than not, I'll create a video and post that out there for them. Now, when I create my little quick checks, I make it very clear to students that this is not anonymous. I tell them that I will collect their names when they submit this quick check. But I also tell them at the end of the semester, our institutional research department will give them a chance to do an anonymous evaluation of the class. And so they've got an opportunity to do that if that's what they want. But I make it clear that the point of this quick check is to let me know how the class is going so I can make changes. And I collect their names so if they say something that I need to follow up on, I can shoot them an email and engage in a dialogue. And I will say it's been fairly successful. My students learn to trust me. They know that I'm not out to try to, mess up their grades or something. And I get a lot of good feedback from the students. And I think our students appreciate that. Next, I'm going to go to the conduct phase of the class. So now our class is in session, and I'm actually conducting the class. The first thing I'll mention to you is that I do weekly updates. Every week, I send an email out to my students. Now, I do have canned emails ready, and I wanted to show this to you. I'm opening up a Word document here. And in this Word document, you can see every semester I go through and I update the dates. March 18th was when this class started. Here's a canned email message that I send to my students. Now, folks, I'm smart enough to know that I can't just send canned messages every week. Students are smart enough to understand that this message doesn't seem genuine. But at least if I start with a canned message, this gives me a framework to begin. And so during the semester, I'll pop this canned message into an email, but then I'll go through and I'll add some thoughts. I'll mention something that may have happened this week, something in one of the forums. I may update some news article or something that's happened in research in my discipline. And so the email message, the canned part is just a framework for me to start from, and then after that, I can add things to personalize the message each week. But this way, at least I know that I've got something to start from. And you can see I've got enough information here that it's pretty simple for me to pop this into an email message, tweak it up a little bit, and send it out. So it's not quite so much work for me each week, but the students get a personalized message from me each week, and they really appreciate that. In my email message, I summarize the previous week's work. I prepare them for the upcoming week's work. I may say something like, this week we're going to cover this topic. I know you'll like it because it's fun, whatever it is I want to tell students. And again, I may post a link to some news article or mention something new in research in our field. The next practice is to enhance communication. This goes along with the weekly updates. With our students in my classes, I use all kinds of communication methods. Email is pretty simple. I'll use Moodle messages. I post in my syllabus. I'm going to open up my syllabus once more. I warn you because I don't want you to get dizzy, the screen changing all the time. Oh, that's not my syllabus, excuse me. I'm going to open my syllabus. In my syllabus, you'll notice I've posted my Facebook link here. I've posted my Twitter link, my Skype name, a YouTube account, so that students have all kinds of ways to connect with me if that's what they want to do. And I use all of those methods to keep students connected to the class. Even, and my last bullet here is old-fashioned telephone. There are lots of times that students will call me or I'll call them and just talk to them. And I should point out in my syllabus, again, I'll switch back to the syllabus, I do have my office number. This personal phone number is not my cell phone number. I use what's called Google Voice, and I understand Google Voice is only a United States benefit, and I apologize for that. But I also have a Skype in number. Now, Skype in is not free. You have to pay a little bit for it. But I do have a Skype in number, and starting next fall, I'll put my Skype number on here instead of Google Voice. My Skype number is linked to my cell phone, but students can't see that. That way my cell phone is actually my personal phone number. I don't like to give that out to students. But I'll give them a Skype number, and if something happens where someone compromises that number, I don't care. I get rid of it, I get a new Skype number, and everybody's happy. But that way students feel like they can actually call me. My Skype number is linked to my Skype account, so I can talk to them on Skype, or in fact it will transfer over to my cell phone so that I can talk to them on my cell phone if I happen to be driving or something. So I do give students a lot of opportunity to contact me. A lot of communication going on there. Let me see, having hundreds of students request Facebook friendships. No, I don't care. I'll do friends with them. It doesn't make that much difference to me. I have, and I will mention, a lot of times, most students won't call. Most students have no desire to talk to the professor, and that's fine with me. But every semester, it seems like I'll have one who needs a little bit of hand-holding, or maybe two students who need just a little bit of hand-holding. They're comfortable with their voice. They actually want to talk to somebody, especially if they get balled up in one of the lab exercises, and they just want someone to step them through the exercise on the phone. So you're right, most students will never call. But every semester, I seem to have one or two who prefer to use voice. And you know what? If that's what they prefer, then I'll give them the option to do that. Okay, next practice. Practice 10 discussion boards. I guess of everything that I do in Moodle with my faculty, discussion boards is what gives me the most problem. And it shouldn't be that way. I'm going to open up my sample class again, and I'm going to jump to version 7 of my little introduction section here. Because in this place I do have a discussion board that I've added. Now the problem with discussion boards and faculty, I have far too many faculty members who will tell me they don't like to post in the discussion boards. They don't like to post in the forums. And what they say is, if the instructor, post something in the discussion board, then all the students begin to just do groupthink, and they'll post the same thing, and it ruins the discussion. So they say, I stay out of the discussion. Well, they're very careful to say, I read them all, but they stay out of them, and they let the discussion go. And you know what I tell them is, that's hogwash. If you were in a face-to-face class and you were leading a discussion with the students, you don't let that discussion just go down any path and they start talking about the weather or last week's ball game or something. You're going to guide that discussion, and you'll use Socratic questions, or you'll use some kind of a technique to focus the students in on the question at hand, without necessarily saying, here's the right answer. And doggone it, you can do the same thing in a written forum. But it's been a very, very hard thing for me to teach instructors. They all seem to want to not post in the forum. And to be honest with you, I think it's just laziness. I think that they can let the forum run. They don't have to do anything with it, and they're all happy with that. But if you're going to use a forum, doggone it, use it. Get out there, guide the discussion, focus the discussion, make sure the students stay on track, and pull them along to higher levels of thinking than with a simple, whatever, a multiple choice quiz. Yeah, and Anna, you're right. I did this same session a couple of days ago, and the folks in that session said the same thing. We all face exactly the same problems. And I wish I had a magic bullet that I can say, here it is, here's how we fix this. Unfortunately, it's just me going out there and one at a time telling instructors, do this, do this, do this, and hope that they pick it up. At any rate, discussion boards are very important tools for students, but instructors seem to have a lot of trouble with them. I do at the end of the week do some kind of a wrap-up. Very typically, I'll put that in the little email that I send to students. I'll say something like, last week we talked about this in the discussion, and I noticed that, we decided this, this, and this. Again, it's a way for me to have my presence in the class, a little bit of a wrap-up. I can also permit, and I don't do this much because video posts are such a problem in the discussion board, unless you're using a tool like Poodle. But I do like the idea of letting students post their own videos. So you actually create a video discussion. There are also Web 3.0 tools you can use. I believe Vimeo is one that permits a video interaction between students. I hesitate some to take my class outside of Moodle. If you get too many tools going outside of Moodle, students suddenly have to learn how to use all of those different tools. But there are ways to do video discussions or audio discussions, a little podcast type discussion. At any rate, we're going to foster discussion with our students, and by doing that, as an instructor, my presence also is felt. Timely responses, I tell my instructors, doggone it, excuse me, answer email within 24 hours. If you've got a simple assignment, just a little, a paragraph that you want students to write, get that back to students. Get your feedback back to students within 48 hours. This is important as a presence in the class. I understand for more complex assignments, if you've had a student submit a 10-page term paper or something, it's going to take you longer to do that. But for the simple assignments, return those immediately to the students so they know that you are present in the class. And it's an extremely important requirement. Office hours. Our full-time faculty at the college are required to have office hours. And I forget how much it is, 4, 5, 6 a week, where they are actually present in their office physically on a given schedule so that students can stop by and talk to them about assignments. I tell the full-time faculty, if you're going to teach online, you also have to give your distant student exactly the same capability. So designate a couple of those office hours where you're going to be available online using our web conferencing tool or Skype or whatever you want to use. I don't care. But it's a time for your distant faculty to also be able to talk to you, just like local students can come in and talk to you. Now, for our part-time instructors or the adjunct instructors, I can't require them to have office hours, but I do encourage them at least a couple of times during the semester. Choose a time on a Sunday night. Students tend to like to work Sunday nights. Choose a time when you're going to be available to your student using our web conferencing tool, and actually go out there and offer to meet with your students live. In fact, what I like to tell them is, if you're going to set up a time, and I understand time zone differences, goodness, today we've got time zones all over the world here with just the couple of you, and I understand that, but I can't help that. As long as the instructor is willing to set some time and choose a time, say 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, I'm going to be available online. Go out there and do that. Open up a chat room or something. Be available. If no student shows up in the first 10 minutes or so, Well, fine. Shut it down. You don't have to stay there for an hour and just wait for someone that's not going to show up. But at least give your students the opportunity to talk to you at some scheduled time during the semester. Anyway, office hours, I do encourage our instructors to do that. In fact, I require our full-time instructors to do it, the adjunct faculty if possible. Practice 13, monitor your students' progress. Of course, Moodle makes that easy. You can always go in, run a report, find out which students are working, which ones are falling behind. And if they're falling behind, shoot them an email. Just ask them, what's going on? Is there anything I can do to help? I want to try to keep you up with the class. And again, this is a way that you as the instructor participate in the class. And in practice 14, feedback. Now, I mentioned feedback in the preparation phase when I told you I was going to add feedback to my class. It's such an important point, though. I put it here also in the conduct phase. And the note here is, if students send you feedback, then feedback to that feedback. Actually make a change to your class, or send your student a thank you note or something to let students know that you saw the feedback that they sent. I'm going to open up my sample class once more. What I want to do is just real quickly, I'm going back to version 1 of the class. This is that bare bones mess that too many of my instructors try to palm off as an online class. But once we have increased the instructor presence, and the instructor now sending out a weekly email update, we've got some nice, pretty things going on in the class. We've got some video, we've got some audio. I have a website here that I've added to my class. I've added some labels, some icons. Now the student feels like the instructor is actually present and actually working with them instead of just a name on the screen. Do I ever use a blog? I do use a blog, Anna. I have a personal blog out at WordPress. I will tell you the blog that's in Moodle has always been a bit of a problem for me. I just don't like the Moodle blog tool very well. So I go out to WordPress, I create a blog there, and in fact, during the weekly email that I send students, very often I'll send them a link to something that I've put in my blog and said, hey, I noticed this news article last Wednesday. I wrote something in my blog about it, and here's a link in case you want to see what I'm thinking about. So I do use blogging, but I do use blogging outside of Moodle to make an online teacher a human teacher. Yeah, blogging is an excellent tool. I also do video logs. I guess they call them vlogs, V-L-O-G. I'll create a video piece and stick it in my blog so that students can even see my pretty face out there in my blog site. They just can't get away from me. Folks, that's I think that's about all that I had. Let me go back to my PowerPoint slides. Practice 15, follow up on promises. Of course, it's extremely important. If you promise students that I'm going to, whatever, change this quiz, then of course you're going to follow up on that. And that was my last practice. I've taken about 45 minutes of your time today. That was my goal, and to leave a little bit of time for questions or comments. And that would be it. Thank you, Anna. I appreciate that. And Vinny, thank you very much. I will mention it is my habit as an instructor when I do live webcasts, and I do webcasts with my class, it's my habit to be the very last person to leave in case one of my shy students actually wanted to ask a question but didn't want to ask in front of his or her peers. And I'll do the same thing with you. If you have no other questions or comments, you may certainly leave the session, and when everyone is left except me, then I will leave. Thank you. I appreciate having you here today and early in the morning or late at night, as the case may be. You have my email contact. We've got this now recorded. I'll be more than happy to work with you over the next few weeks, even if you have other questions or comments. Anna, you're welcome to use anything that I've done. My slideshow has been posted at the iMoot site, and I will mention, when I create my slides, I also put notes in at the bottom of each slide, the slide notes. The slide notes are all of the things that I've told you today. I'm really pretty consistent. And so you can go back through the notes and even find the stuff that I've talked about today. You're welcome to use that. I have a link to this sample Moodle site. You're welcome, or you're able to log in there as a guest and see everything that I've shown you today. You're welcome to do that. To be honest with you, Anna, if you want me to even send you a doggone backup copy of my Moodle site for whatever that's worth to you, I'm more than happy to save that as a backup file and get that to you. I'm willing to help you any way that I can.
Hi, George. This is Vinny again.
Yes, sir.
Hi. That was amazing. Thank you very much for presenting.
Thank you.
I love your enthusiasm.
Thank you.
Fantastic, and lots of really useful content, lots of very wise words. So thank you very much again for presenting at this year's iMoot.
Thank you. Vinny, I always like to close my presentations with a quote from one of my favorite authors, an American author by the name of Mark Twain, who once quipped that it's a terrible death to be talked to death. And you folks are getting pretty close to the edge, so it's time for me to shut up.
Does Anna realise she's got a microphone on? Yes, George. That's great. That's great. You couldn't talk us to death. Thank you very much.
Thank you.